there my lovelies, and welcome to my BookTube channel, the Sassy Library Fox. My name is V, and today I'm going for my November wrap-up video. I mean, we still have 2 days left in November. So I added a book I'm convinced I will finish in November. Because it can't happen that I just only read 3 books once again. So we'll make that 4. I'm already over the halfway mark and I'm determined to finish this book ASAP. So I still have 2 days left in November as I record this video. So I'm convinced, I'm certain I will be able to read this 4th book. So yeah. As you can already tell, November wasn't my strongest month. I had a lot of health issues and troubles. I was very busy with work, and I even was on a business trip for a couple of days. So yeah, at the end of November I wanted to read more again, but then I got an eye infection and it only just healed now. So about a week and a half I couldn't pick up a single book, a single sentence. I really had trouble even to sit in front of a screen or to read the newspaper, and they have really tiny articles sometimes. So yeah, I couldn't even read one of those articles without my eyes getting blurry, hurting, itching, whatever. Yeah. So about 1.5 weeks were lost to my eye infection. Yeah, that's the reason why I only read 3 books so far, but I'm determined to make it 4. Anyway, enough of that, enough of my eye problems. I really hope that this is over now and that the rest of winter will go smoothly. I got my cheat sheets, I got my coffee at the ready, and I'm going to talk about the 3 to 4 books I read in November. Okay, so the first book I read in November was actually a children's book. I read it with my kid and my kid loves this series so much. It's called Lichterland, and the 3rd book was Die Reise durch die magischen Berge, which basically means the journey through the magical mountains. And it's written by Carolin Jelden, or Carolin Jelden, as you would pronounce in Germany. Yeah, I really like this series. Even as an adult, it's really nice to read. As I already said, my kid loves it. We read book 1 and 2 and finally managed to get to book 3. And every night we sit down and I read this story or a chapter of the story to my kid. And I think that's really nice. Also, we've been doing this ever since our kid was born. We always read goodnight stories before going to bed. So that's great. That's quality time we have together. And with all those magical creatures and with magicians and 2 children named Carla and Frederick. Frederick is a prince. He has 2 brothers. I think one is named Jonathan and the other, I never remember the other one's name. He's never mentioned that much. But yeah, Frederick and Carla meet in the woods around the castle and strike up a friendship. And she is from, I think her mom is the cook in the castle. So those 2 bond and become friends and go on all kinds of adventures together. There are magicians, there are magical creatures that glow in the dark, and it's lovely. I can't describe it any different. It's a really lovely story. So if you read German books every once in a while, you can definitely go for that one. It's really nice. And I personally love all the magical creatures in those books. And the 3rd book was once again better. The 2nd book wasn't that adventurous and interesting for me personally. My kids still loved it. but the third book was definitely great again. We even had the dragon, so yeah. I really enjoyed that one. I think I always rate those books 4 stars and pause because they're nice to read with your kid. And if you want to read something easy in German, then you should definitely go for that one. It's nice. Okay, the second book, and this is one of my books, not a children's book anymore, is The Wolf at Bay by Charlie Adhara. I enjoyed that one so much. I mean, it took me an entire year to get to The Wolf at Bay because last year I read The Wolf at the Door around Halloween. Yes, for Rainbowween even. And I wanted to get back to this series because I just love Cooper, Dayton and Oliver Park. They're just great, and one of them is a werewolf. Oliver is a werewolf, and Cooper is from the BSI, Bureau of Secret blah blah blah, I don't know. Yeah, it's a part section of the FBI that deals with the supernatural things, and he's partnered up with a werewolf to solve supernatural cases. But this time around they are more or less going on a trip home, and Cooper is taking a holiday and taking Park with him. In the first book they already developed some feelings, and they had a couple of steamy scenes, let's put it that way. In the second book, Cooper wants to find out whether Oliver is his boyfriend or if they are just partners in or at work. So that was really funny because they are doing totally coupley things, and they are a legit couple if you ask me, but Cooper isn't sure about it. Which was really, it led to a couple of very funny scenes. Problem is, they are staying at Cooper's dad's house, and he wants to change, I think it was a building in the backyard, and he's tearing it down. Cooper's mother died when he and his brother were very young, so that was a building she liked, and his father, after so many years, decided to move on. But then there is found the corpse underneath that building, and the FBI comes to investigate. Of course, they don't want Cooper and Oliver in the investigation because they are too close to the main suspect, namely Cooper's dad. So they investigate on their own, and yeah, let's say it comes to a lot of interesting scenes. We find out a lot about Cooper's past and his mom and his brother and father and their dynamics. I really like that. I'm just waiting for the third book, and if we will get to see Oliver's family and surroundings, that would be nice. But yeah, in this one they try to clear his father's name and to find the culprit who actually killed the person underneath that. It wasn't a porch, it was a building, I think. I can't remember it exactly. Yeah. Anyway, it was really nice. I loved it. I loved how those two men finally admitted that they have feelings for each other. Yeah, it was nice. I also liked Cooper's brother a lot and his fiancée. They were great. I just love those two. I hope they make a cameo in the next couple of books because this was nice. The murder mystery case wasn't that pronounced in this one, but the relationship got a chance to shine and I liked it very much. So for me this was another 5-paw read. I can't say it any differently. I just love this one. It was great. Okay, I'm gonna take a sip here. The next book I read was The Boyfriend by Freida McFadden, and it was the first Freida McFadden book I ever read. I haven't read any of her books yet. This was really the first one, and I gotta admit, I really enjoyed it. I rated it with 4 paws because it was a really interesting read. I mean, I don't dabble in the genre of thrillers all too often, but this one had me really entertained, and I was always guessing who might be the murderer. The ending was a little bit surprising. I gotta admit this, and I gotta give kudos to the author for pulling this off. As for what the book is about, it's basically about Sydney. And Sydney has been on the dating market for quite a while. All her dates are horrible. She is, I think she's 32 or so. And she wants to find a man, a normal man, just a man. Really, her expectations aren't that high. She just wants to find someone who is nice and friendly and not creepy or stalkerish. So her date with that guy that sounded really nice in the dating app, and the picture also looked nice, turns out to be horrible. Really horrible. And this guy, Kevin, you don't want to go on a date with a guy like that, believe me. So when the date goes sideways at the ending, she is saved by another man, a mystery man, who doesn't even tell her his name and vanishes into thin air once again. Yeah. Coincidence has it that they meet each other a couple of weeks later and then come together. In between, there happens a murder. Sydney's best friend, or one of her best friends, is murdered in the building, and everyone thinks it was the guy she was on and off dating and sleeping with in the last couple of years. They wanted to make it a real thing, but then Bonnie died. And yeah, her almost boyfriend is the main suspect, but no one knows who he is and where he could be found. The only thing is, rumor has it, he's a doctor. And Sydney was saved by this mysterious doctor whose name is Tom. And so she gets a little bit suspicious. Yeah. Anyway, there are a lot of suspects. I had 2 people in mind that could have done it. It was very interesting. We have 2 timelines. We have a timeline where Tom is a teenager, and we have a timeline with Sydney. So that was really interesting, and it kept me engaged. It kept me on my toes. I always wanted to know how it would continue, and personally for me both timelines were really interesting. It wasn't the usual way that when I have 2 timelines I want to invest more into one of them. It was really, I was invested equally, and every time the timeline changed I was curious how it would continue. So yeah, a solid 4 paws and a really great book, and lots of twists and turns I didn't see coming, which is always good in my book. Okay, another sip. And the last book I'm hoping to finish in the next 2 days. I'm already over the halfway mark, so I'm very confident it will happen. And it is Teenage Girls Can Be Demons by Hailey Piper. I got that one from NetGalley as an ARC, and I wanted to read it around Rainbowween, and I think I even started to read it around Rainbowween, but yeah, life is busy, and I decided I would take it slowly because this is an anthology with 13 stories in it. and I've made my way through it. It also has an LGBTQIA plus aspect because so far 2 of the MCs were trans, and yeah, there were also mentions of queer couples. So it has queer representation, at least in some of the stories as well. And as for the stories themselves, I personally like them because every time when I finish one of those stories, I sit down and I think about it and what the author wanted to convey with it. And we have really strong topics like misogyny, and it's really hard to say. We also have grief, and it's always from the perspective of a woman or a girl at that, and it's past, present grievances or grief in general. It is about adolescence and about the change of girls into women, and I always take so much from every story when I read them, and you could really think about them and digest them and analyze them after every story. So I enjoy this a lot, and with the short stories it's so easy. You just finish one of them and then you can think about it and write down your thoughts, and then you go for the next one the next day. I really enjoyed it. For me, it totally works. As for my favorites so far, my favorites were definitely The Long Flash of the Law, which is about a girl that desperately wants to find her friends in a bar and then runs into a police officer who isn't really the person he seems to be. Yeah, let's put it that way. Auto Tommy was another one where it featured a blind girl, and her mother behaves very differently and she smells differently as well. So what happened to her mom overnight? And then the last story I read, I also really enjoyed, was The Turning. And this is basically about a virus that turns teenage girls, or teenagers in general. It's told from a girl's perspective, but I think it generally turns teenagers into pterodactyls. I think this was really interesting. Body horror at its best, really. Completely a new take on body horror. And also about the changes you go through when you become a teenager and an adult. As I already said, all those stories leave a lot of room for interpretation and for analyzing them, and I really enjoyed this about the book. This makes it a little bit more heavy to digest, but yeah, I like books and short stories that keep me on my toes. So I'm curious. I think I only have 3 stories left, and I'm very curious how I will rate them. So far, all of them have been great in their own way. Some of them got 3 paws, others got 4.5 and 4. So I honestly don't know how the final rating of this book might turn out to be, but I think it's safe to say it will get 4 paws. Around 4 paws, yeah. Because not all of the stories are creepy the way I thought, but they are more like horror stories that are food for thoughts, if you get the idea and what I mean. Anyway, another sip of my coffee, because we're already at the ending of my video. Yeah, those were the 4 books, hopefully 4 books, I read in November, and I enjoyed them all very much. Yeah, It's sad I couldn't read more, but the eye infection got me really good. So yeah, I'm glad I can read once again. There's that, at least. I would love to hear which kind of books you read in November. Did you read more books than I did? I hope you did. Honestly, I hope you did. I also hope you were healthy and safe. And yeah, let me know which kind of books you read. If you've read the books I mentioned here, if you enjoyed them or not. What were your thoughts about them? Could you guess the end of The Boyfriend? I would really love to hear your comments and thoughts on this one. Yeah, and I guess that's it. If you want, you can leave a like, a comment, subscribe to my channel if you're new here, and yeah, I guess that's it. We're really at the ending of my video now, and there's nothing left to say except of take care, stay healthy and safe, and see you around the next time. Bye!